While the beginnings of the American Legion can be traced to World War I, the roots of Post 63 are directly linked to the local Company M of the Ohio National Guard. Company M had been training at the newly built Armory in Ottawa when in June 1916 they received orders to mobilize. President Wilson federalized all the existing 47 National Guard units to halt trouble on the Mexican border. U.S. Brigadier General Blackjack Pershing was assigned the mission of tracking down Mexican Revolutionary General Pancho Villa, whose brazen attacks were contributing to violence all along the Mexican border. On Monday evening, June 26, 1916, thousands of well-wishers flooded Ottawa to witness a large parade and Godspeed send-off rally to honor Company M. The parade was led by 50 Civil War veterans, 2 drum corps, and the Catholic Boys Band of Glandorf. Company M was then stationed on the border with Mexico from June 1916 until March of 1917. The Company M roster included the names of Captain Guy M. Cartwright, Second Lieutenant Edward F. Evans, and Privates George Radebaugh, Oscar Shirlow, and Ray Cohen. These men would later be charter members of American Legion Post 63. Also a member of Company M was Private Leo J. Kerner, who would become one of Post 63's namesakes. Arriving in El Paso, Texas by train in the summer of 1916, Company M went about its mission to protect the U.S. border with Mexico and set up camp at Fort Bliss. The deployment was described as a punitive action, and with extreme desert conditions, the men of Company M must have asked just who was being punished. Captain Guy Cartwright claimed the area for Company M with his unique rock and sand formation. Patrolling daily, our boys made the best of the situation with humor by labeling this photo with the epitaph, "Pests of the Desert, Soldiers, Rocks, and Spanish Dragons." Captain Cartwright labeled this photo with, "Hope to die before I get any closer to heaven." The Texas Southwest was barren and mountainous, but the men found some humor in guarding a no man's land. That phrase would be used again. The training received by the National Guard units would soon be put to its most severe test. Saturday night, March 24, 1917. Ottawa may not have seen a night like this before or since. Ottawa did itself proud in extending a welcome home as the train carrying the boys pulled into the railway station. The CH&D train, with a special coach and baggage car, arrived from Deschler. Bells and whistles sent forth greetings as Company M began a triumphal march to the Armory. Dressed in new uniforms, the boys made a magnificent appearance. They proudly marched with shoulders back and heads erect. Their mascot goat was with them. Red fire, flags, mothers and fathers, Ottawa firemen, and the Buckeye Band from Findlay joined the escort. Sweethearts were not far away. After much handshaking and other blessings were showered upon the boys at the Armory, the boys stacked their arms and began telling stories of Army life and camp living. It was a glorious and festive night in Ottawa for the heroes of Company M, but their days at home would prove to be numbered. The United States declared war on Germany on April 6, 1917, ending a policy of non-intervention it had maintained since the war in Europe began in 1914. German U-boat attacks on neutral vessels and reported German war atrocities gradually swayed American public opinion toward the Allies, principally Great Britain and France. The final straw was the notorious telegram to Mexico from the German Foreign Minister Arthur Zimmermann. In it, Zimmermann proposed an alliance between Germany and Mexico in the event the United States joined the Allies. In return for attacking the United States, Mexico was offered the states of Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico. News of this telegram hit the front pages of every American newspaper on the 1st of March. At the time, the U.S. Army ranked 15th in the world. By the end of the war, 19 months later, the U.S. would send 2 million troops overseas. Company M and Ottawa had grown accustomed to parades, but on this occasion, the mood was more somber. The boys would have to fight in a horrible war, half a world away, and not all would survive. The October 5th, 1917 edition of the Putnam County Sentinel reported the following. Company M, National Guard of Ohio, who for the past few months occupied the armory and trained for Camp Sheridan, Montgomery, Alabama. The departure of our boys was witnessed by an immense crowd of people. As early as 6 o'clock in the morning, automobiles came pouring into town, filled with relatives and friends of the departing soldiers. By 8 o'clock, Main Street, from Locust to Perry Streets, a distance of over 5 shares, was so packed with automobiles that it was nearly impossible to cross the streets. Cheers and tears commingled, which gave vent to the emotions of the heart, and over all a spirit of sorrow and regret prevailed. It was an hour of cheering and weeping as the train bearing the loved ones pulled away. Many seemed dazed in gazing at the departing train. Aboard the train was Captain Guy M. Cartwright, who would become one of the founders of American Legion Post 63. Also aboard were future charter members First Lieutenant Edward F. Evans, Mess Sergeant Winfield Scott Hipkins, Sergeant Ray Cohen, Corporal Oscar Shirlow, Private First Class George K. Radebaugh, and Private Charles Cartwright. Others on the Company M roster of 100 plus would be future Post 63 members and commanders. Most prominent of all was the name of Private First Class Leo J. Kerner, who would be the first member of Company M to make the supreme sacrifice. After their departure from Ottawa, Company M arrived at Camp Sheridan, Alabama, for several months of training. They were then sent to Fort Lee, Virginia, where they embarked for France in July of 1918. They were now part of the 146th Infantry 37th Division. Upon their arrival on French soil, they were almost immediately sent to the front line. The 37th Division was composed of Buckeye boys and were instrumental in holding the lines against the onslaught of German attacks. They later participated in the Battle of Meuse-Argonne and the Ypres offensive in northern France. The 37th and 91st Divisions achieved the bridging of the River Scheldt and held it despite German counterattacks. With the bridge secured on the 2nd of November 1919, the enemy sought peace. And on the 11th day of the 11th month, at 11 a.m., the armistice was signed, ending World War I. Soon after the end of the war, those who had fought gathered in Paris to found the American Legion. When the brave men of Company M returned to Ottawa, they would gather and petition to become a post of the newly formed National Veterans Organization.